The monster stood behind the old man, but he couldn't see it at all. He mistakenly thought the man was raising a knife to kill him, so no matter how the man explained, the old man didn't believe him. Ultimately, under the influence of the monster, the man ended his own life. What on earth is going on? Does the monster really exist? Let's go back a few hours. The man's name is Jack. At this moment, he was running wildly down a path, because there were two people behind him, driving a car, trying to kill him. In fact, they were all good friends, but later, Jack sold the flower belonging to the two of them. When they came looking for him, Jack had no money to give them. That's how the current scene came to be. Jack was about to be caught. There was a small side path next to him. Jack quickly ran into it. An iron gate blocked his way. Fortunately, he had trained in society for many years, so this level of difficulty was nothing to him. Leo and Marley, who were chasing from behind, didn't want to spend money to repair the car. They had no choice but to get out and walk. After Jack entered through the iron gate, he discovered that it was a large courtyard. Soon, he was caught up by the two of them. He was about to take a beating. He ran to the other side again. Jack scanned the surrounding buildings to see if there was a place to hide temporarily. An old glass door caught Jack's attention. Jack finally used his skills to squeeze behind the glass door. Jack took a moment to calm himself. He discovered that this seemed to be a factory. At this moment, Leo and Marley arrived as well. Indeed, unity is strength. Soon, they successfully pried open the iron lock. Jack quickly ran into the factory. After Leo entered, he picked up a chain and wrapped it around his hand. He vowed to give Jack a beating today. Jack was playing a game with them, but after a while, an emergency exit caught Jack's attention. He prepared to escape through it. Unexpectedly, Leo had been waiting there all along. He knocked Jack to the ground. He wanted to call Marley over to him. Jack used all his strength to squeeze into a narrow space between the shelves. He escaped once again. Leo was full of strength, but there was nothing he could do in this situation. He thought about losing weight. Jack kept crawling through the gap. When he reached the other end, he suddenly noticed something strange. It was swaying back and forth in the corner. When he looked closely, it turned out to be a terrifying monster. On the other side, Leo was searching for Jack's whereabouts. Suddenly, a shadow flashed by. Before Leo could react, he was killed. The monster moved very quickly. Before Marley arrived, it had already vanished into the corner of the shelves. He saw Leo lying on the ground, motionless. Marley was very angry, because he knew nothing about the monster. He only thought that Jack had killed Leo. Marley's rage terrified Jack. He hid in the direction of the densely packed shelves, but at this moment, Jack saw the monster approaching him. He hid behind a box, afraid to breathe. He felt like his heart was about to burst out. The monster seemed to sense his fear. After the monster left, Jack quickly got up. He wanted to find Marley. Some may ask, wasn't Marley trying to kill Jack? But at this moment, our protagonist was already terrified. He thought he needed to find people to huddle with for warmth. The two soon met up, but no matter how Jack communicated with Marley, Marley believed that Jack had killed Leo. But seeing Jack trembling all over, with a pale face, Marley began to doubt. He agreed to go with Jack to check the situation. If Jack was lying to him, he would take revenge for Leo. Marley picked up a crowbar to use as a weapon for Jack's protection. He shouted as he walked that no matter what monster, they would all die at his hands. Just as Marley finished speaking, he was grabbed by the monster. He took the monster's attack all by himself. Jack couldn't take it anymore. He kept dodging around, and finally decided to pick up the stick and fight the monster. He hit the monster on its back a few times, but the monster broke Jack's right leg. Strangely, the monster seemed to have no interest in Jack. This spared Jack's life. As he was searching for an exit, he was caught by the night security guard. The guard thought Jack was just a petty thief. He threatened to call the police, but what the guard didn't expect was that Jack praised his actions repeatedly. He even said he would wait for the police to arrive with him. The guard believed Jack's story and invited him to rest in the security room. Seeing the man's injury on his leg, the guard even helped Jack bandage it. At this moment, Jack noticed the surveillance cameras in the security room. He told the guard that they could check the surveillance footage. That way, they would know if he was telling the truth or not. The guard spoke honestly, saying that the company's pay was too low. He was just slacking off here. As they talked, they started to watch the surveillance video. In the footage, wherever there was a monster's shadow, it was actually Jack, who killed Leo and Marley. The guard was sweating profusely as he watched. He thought to himself, he shouldn't have let the wolf in. He then slowly backed away, trying to keep his distance from Jack. Seeing this, Jack quickly explained that he was not the murderer. The guard advised him that regardless of whether he was the murderer, Jack needed to stay calm right now. Jack kept checking the content of the video. Suddenly, he felt dazed, as if those people were the ones he had killed. So was he really the murderer? The guard continued to encourage him to relax, and urged the police to come quickly. At that critical moment, Jack suddenly saw that behind the guard was the monster, but the guard could see nothing. To prove his innocence, Jack grabbed a utility knife and threatened the monster to back away, but the guard kept advising him not to do that. At this moment, Jack suddenly noticed a photo of a child on the guard's desk. It was a picture of a child. He finally started to come to his senses, and he remembered everything he had done moments ago. Perhaps he didn't want to hurt the kind guard. In fact, whenever Jack saw the monster, it was when he was about to kill. Thus, the first story comes to an end. The second story is called The Hidden Woman. One day, Mary took her son Charlie and bought a second-hand house. Upon arriving at their new home for the first time, Charlie was filled with curiosity about the place. Shortly after they entered, a door downstairs suddenly opened. Charlie walked over and saw many items left by the previous owner. He was very interested. He hoped that his mother would leave the place as it was. Mary explained that the previous owner had passed away suddenly and hadn't had time to tidy up the room. If they liked or found anything useful, they could keep it for themselves. As for the other things they didn't need, they had to be thrown away, or there wouldn't be room for their own belongings. In reality, this house was a haunted one, but Mary had her own plans. She wanted to renovate the place again, and then sell it to someone else, hoping to make a nice profit. Later, Mary found a gramophone in the basement. She had only seen such things on TV, so she was very interested in it. However, after fiddling with it for a while, she found that the gramophone seemed to be broken, as it wouldn't produce any sound. Time passed, and at 2 in the morning, Mary suddenly realized that Charlie was missing. So she went downstairs to look for Charlie, but unexpectedly saw a strange figure standing behind her son. Mary was startled and quickly turned on the lights, and the figure instantly vanished. Charlie was sitting there drinking water. Mary looked at the glass in her son's hand and felt puzzled, because she had placed that glass on a high shelf. Even if Charlie stood on a stool, it would be difficult for him to reach it. Mary asked Charlie what had happened, but he couldn't explain either. The next morning, Mary was working on her computer. Suddenly, she heard noises from upstairs. At first, she thought that it was Charlie running around upstairs, but the sounds grew louder and louder. Mary felt a bit annoyed.
Charlie!
But when she turned around, Mary then realized that things might not be as simple as she thought. She grabbed a kitchen knife from the kitchen and prepared to go upstairs to check the situation. But when she opened the door, she found nothing inside. Mary went to the window and greeted her son downstairs. However, from Charlie's perspective, we could see that a ghost was standing beside Mary. That night, Mary suddenly heard the gramophone making noise. She found it strange, as the gramophone had been broken yesterday. She walked over to turn it off, but at this moment, she saw the ghostly figure again. She was terrified, and quickly turned on the lights. Just like last time, the ghost disappeared again. Mary wanted to check if Charlie was okay. She found her son sleeping in bed. Another day passed, and Mary carefully examined the gramophone. At the bottom of the box, she discovered an old black and white photograph. The photo showed a woman dancing ballet. It seemed that this dancer was the former owner of the house. Just then, Charlie suddenly said that he had seen the woman in the photo. He had even communicated with her. Upon hearing this, Mary was shocked. She asked her son when he had seen her. At this point, Mary was certain that the problem lay with the gramophone. She immediately threw it into the trash bin. But when she returned home, an even stranger thing happened. She saw Charlie standing at the top of the stairs, motionless. No matter how she called his name, Charlie did not respond. In an instant, Charlie transformed into a ghostly figure. Mary was so frightened that she hurriedly stepped back. In fact, before this, Mary had flipped houses multiple times, but this was the first time she had encountered such a situation. Fortunately, the ghost did not harm the mother and son, but in the blink of an eye, Mary saw the gramophone again, perfectly placed on the table. She was very angry. She threw it into the trash bin. She lit a fire and burned the gramophone to ashes. Mary thought everything was over, but when she returned home, she saw a terrifying scene. Lying next to Charlie was the very ghost At this moment, Charlie also felt unwell. Mary quickly turned on the room light, which made the ghost vanish without a trace. Mary felt that things were beyond her control. The mother and son needed to leave as soon as possible. So Mary had Charlie get dressed, preparing to take him away. But at this critical moment, the music from the gramophone played again from downstairs. Indeed, it was still perfectly intact on the table. Mary was terrified, holding Charlie tightly. Meanwhile, the ballet ghost was downstairs, limping toward them. From the ghost's posture, it was definitely the ballet dancer from the photo. Fortunately, the ghost went to another room first. Mary quickly led Charlie downstairs. They were about to open the door and rush outside, but the door suddenly closed by itself. No matter how Mary tried, it was of no use. The second story of Campfire Tales comes to an end here. The film tells the story of several friends on a trip. The tour guide asks them to share their most terrifying experiences, their scariest encounters. Each person's story has its own unique features and frightening elements. Overall, I really enjoy this kind of anthology horror film. After all, you can see several horror stories at once, with an atmosphere filled with music, and the director's very professional guidance. I believe that this is a horror movie worth watching. I recommend everyone to check out the original film. If you enjoy my channel, please give me a subscribe.